Virginia Beach sh00ting more questions than answers as residents grieve. As Virginia Beach mourns 12 people gunned down in a shooting rampage, more questions remain on why a veteran city engineer targeted people had worked with for years. The gunman fired indiscriminately Friday on a municipal building in the coastal city in Virginia before he died after a long shootout with police officers. As officials struggle for answers, Mayor Bobby Dyer has tried to quell both sides of the gun control debate, saying he wanted to avoid the need. There's. Here is what we know so far and what we don't. What we know: the shooter was a disgruntled. On Friday toward the end of the workday, he shot one person in a car and then entered the building where he fired at people on 3 floors. What we don't: authorities are still searching for a motive, and those who knew him say they didn't see the horror coming. Joseph Scott said he worked with the shooter for several years and saw him that day. He said the suspect. What we know: 12 people were killed in the attack and several others were wounded, with 3 people in critical condition and 1 in fair, hospital officials said Saturday. Those killed include Herbert Bird Snelling, who was trying to file a permit when the gunman opened fire. 3 right-of-way agents were killed: Lakita C. Brown, with 4.5 years in the Public Works Department. Mary Louise Gay. Also slain were engineers Tara Welch Gallagher, who spent 6 years in the city's Public Works Department. Catherine Anix. Joshua O. Hardy, an engineering technician for 4.5 years in the Public Utilities Department, was also killed, as was Ryan Keith Cox, an account clerk, who had spent 2 years in the Public Utilities Department. Also killed in the attack were Michelle Missy Langer, an administrative assistant who worked 12 years in public utilities, and Robert Bobby Williams, a 41-year veteran in the Public Utilities Department and Special Projects Coordinator. What we don't know: why their workplace was targeted. What we know: 40 members of law enforcement, mostly FBI, were at Building 2 to collect evidence. They found 2 legally purchased .45 caliber pistols at the scene: one the shooter bought in 2016 and one in 2018. Police said one pistol had a suppressor and several empty extended magazines. And investigators: what we don't: questions remain about why he purchased the weapons and how long he was planning his attack. What we know: the gunman was identified as 40-year-old Dwayne Craddock, who worked as a certified professional engineer in the city's Public Utilities Department for 15 years. His neighbor, Clarissa Morell, said the gunman had 3 security cameras set up in 2 of his windows and once catcalled her. Another neighbor, Cassetti Howren, said he was awake all hours of the night, but mostly kept to himself. What we don't know: if the gunman had previously threatened anyone in the building or had conduct issues at work. Cervera declined. The shooter's parents, reached Friday night, told CNN they weren't aware of any trouble that he was having with his employer. The family posted, "We
raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot bar. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park.